Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Game Time Gazette. This is your host, Isaiah Aneni, and I'm glad to have you back on another day. I mean, what a day of sports. It feels like sometimes, Wednesday, hump day, you never get really a lot of news. You never get, a lot to go on off. But with everything nearing the end, with NHL, the season's coming to an end very shortly. I believe there's less than 2 weeks remaining in the NBA. There's 11 days remaining until the play-in game, but still the end of the regular season for the NBA. We got college basketball nearing its end. Got the Final Four on Friday. The Final Four, starts Friday. The whole weekend. At the end of the Monday, we'll know who the women's and men's champions are. So that's exciting. Got European soccer. Reaching its end. We're reaching a good time in sports right now, and every day you get some new news. So I'm going to be starting a new segment called The Fastest 180. It's because I like to talk every sport. You guys, if you've been listening to the Game Time Gazette, you guys know that I'm well-versed, or not well-versed. I wish I was well-versed and be able to be like, basketball knowledge, the same basketball knowledge or soccer knowledge or, football knowledge that I have. If I had the same for every single sport, it'd be crazy. But no, I still am, though, very diversified in all the sports. So, got to be able to fit them all in. Really wanted the Game Time Gazette to be a place where, sports fans don't have to look anywhere else. You'll get all your news right here. So the fastest 180 will give you, fastest 180 seconds, will give kind of update on everything else going on that I don't mainly talk about in the episode. So let's get right to it. Let's start it off. Let me get the timer started, and the time starts now. Alrighty, so let's look, starting from the MLB. Baltimore Orioles have the number one recruit in the MLB, number one recruit in baseball, Justin Holiday. A lot of you baseball fans might know him. 2 leadoff home runs in four games at AAA. It's going to be not too long until he gets called up because he is just too good. Projections are for him to get called up on April 26th. So watch out for that. Bryce Harper last night hitting 3 home runs. Crazy. It's been a crazy season for Bryce Harper to start the season. Going hitless in his first 5 at bats, which has never happened for him in his career. That just tells you how phenomenal of a hitter he is. And then he comes out last night against the Reds and scores 3 homers. He's the first Philly player to hit 3 homers in a game since Brad Miller did it on July 8, 2021 at Wrigley Field. And he's the first Philly player to hit 3 home runs in a home game. In a game including a grand slam since Jason Worth did it on May 16th, 2008 at Citizens Park. And that is the only other Phillies player to do it. Bryce Harper continues to make history and break history. Another player that made history and broke history for himself last night was George Springer for the Toronto Blue Jays. He added more accomplishments to his accolades on Tuesday, reaching 10 years of service in the major leagues. A big up to him, not something easy to do. The former 2017 World Series MVP and the former 4-time All-Star is now 10 years tenure in the MLB. So congratulations, George. Shane Bieber, he continues this scoreless start that he's on, this heater that he's on to start the year. To start the season, Shane Bieber has been pitching like he intends to be the best in the league. The Guardians have seen him get the 6 shutout innings in a tidy 5-2 victory that ended up in a 3-game series. That was a game apiece heading into Wednesday's game after today's game. We'll see who gets who wins the series. let's get on to some hockey before we got a minute left. On to some hockey. The Penguins moved on within 3 points of the Washington Capitals, who have one game in hand for the second wild card into the Stanley Cup playoffs for the Eastern Conference. The Capitals, who lost 6-2 to the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesday, host the Penguins on Thursday. So we're going to get some big playoff implication matchups in hockey. Watch out for that game coming up tomorrow, Penguins versus Washington. And then last but not least, you got New York, which is coming off a 4-3 overtime win at Philadelphia Flyers on Monday, moved within 1 point of the Washington Capitals for that second wild card spot into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, Washington, who lost on Tuesday, has 6-2. Still has one game in hand. The timer has gone off, if you can hear that, but we will just finish it off on this one right here on the last news for fastest 180 of the day. Craziest one in my opinion. Sebastian Vettel, four-time F1 world champion, has reached out to Toto Wolff of Mercedes to, kind of gauge the interest about that Lewis seat next year. So that Mercedes seat continues to get hotter and hotter and spicier and spicier. And yeah, it's crazy. I did not expect that from Sebastian Vettel. It's crazy. He's thinking about returning. Didn't think he'd return. But we know that every single time the Japanese Grand Prix is around, it's just feels like Sebastian Vettel time. Last year when he was there, on trackside. Now this year he's reaching out to Toto Wolff for Mercedes. So, keep up with the Game Time Gazette. We'll keep you guys posted. This was literally posted 2 hours ago before filming this, and I got it up on Game Time Gazette, up early, and got it up on Game Time Gazette. So not a lot of information on right now, but once we do, we'll get it right to you right here on the Game Time Gazette. And that was your fastest 180. Alrighty. Let's get to some NBA talks. I've been teasing this for a few days. I've been saying that I'm going to be doing this. I've been saying it, and we've had other, segments to get through. College basketball it's been hot. College basketball has been hotter than it's ever been. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Giving me time to just let the NBA season just mellow. So when I do have this segment, it's more close. 11 days, 12 days until the ballots are cast for the awards, the NBA awards, talking MVP, MIP, Coach of the Year, all of that, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, Executive of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year, that one, new one, Clutch Player of the Year. But we'll cover all of those ones here in a second. 11 days until the season's done. We're also going to be covering the play-in games. Obviously, it's something that we're going to cover when it happens as well. But we're going to cover, because the Rockets were hot. Let's start there. Or no, you know what we're going to start with? Sorry for jumping. We'll start with the just the bottom 5 teams in each conference. So let's start off with the Eastern Conference. At the 11th seed, you got the Brooklyn Nets. Sorry, I'm going to be giving grades to all the bottom 5 teams for their seasons, because these are teams that, the Nets, Raptors, Nets not really always there. They're a little higher, regularly. The Raptors higher regularly for sure. And, but most of the Pistons, the Wizards, the Hornets, the Spurs, on the other side. The Grizzlies they're definitely a little higher this year. A lot of injuries decimated. Trailblazers, though, different, right? The Rockets, those are teams that are always in this position at the end of the year. 9 games left. Basically, no, shot at the playoffs for them. No shot at the play-in. Just trying to better their odds for their draft picks coming up. Seeing teams lose by 30, seeing teams lose by 25 will not be added onto the equation of the grades that I will be given for this team. So those are the teams like the Toronto Raptors that have sat nearly everybody towards the end of the year. My grade for the Raptors will not be just on what's happened in these past 2 months without Scottie. or a month and a half without Scotty, it'll be for the full season. So when you get these grades, it's not just for, oh, these guys have lost, it's because of the full season, and also because they're always here, not just relative to everybody else, but relative to themselves and what the bottom five, is, and how good they are, and this and that. And I mean, the improvement that they made from last year to this year for the teams that have been kind of steady there. So let's just get right into it. On the Eastern Conference side, let's start just with 15. We'll go up to 11. I was going to start with Brooklyn, but let's start with 15 up until 11. All right, so the Detroit Pistons. My grade for the Detroit Pistons season would be a D+. A D+. And I'm being generous with a D+. Let me tell you why. They had a 27-game losing streak in the point of the season, 26-27 game, that they almost broke a record of most consecutive lost games. They had the 2022 top 5 draft pick, 2023 top 5 draft pick, 2021 top 5 draft pick, and all three of them have shown no signs of actually getting to that. I mean, Cade Cunningham has been the most surprising one to me. You see a redraft for that 2021 draft, and Cade Cunningham is slotted in at like 7th. Scotty Barnes at first. You got Franz Wagner over there in Orlando. You got Alperen Sengun. You got a lot of other guys that people are looking. And it's, for me, before the season even started, I said, what does Detroit do well? Who have they developed in these last few years? Nobody. Not really, man. You're not seeing that Detroit Pistons organization develop their first round draft picks. They're gonna get another top first round draft pick this year, and it's gonna be the same story, hopefully not, for him as well, being Alex Sarr or Ricochet, or what I'm saying, like whoever it is. That question still remains: what are they doing? The Detroit Pistons, like, who are they developing? They got a number 1 pick out of Oklahoma State that was meant to be this scorer extravaganza, better than Jalen Green, better than Scotty Barnes, and he has not shown it. You can't put all the blame solely on the player. Obviously, blame deserves to go on the player. The team doesn't work for him. But the background helped, because then you look at Killian Hayes, then you look at Wiseman, you look at Marvin Bagley, you look at the pieces that they have, Jalen Duren. Nobody is being elevated from last year to this year. Everybody has been stagnant, and that is, to me, the worst part of their season. Not because they lost 27 games straight, not because they're 13-62, but because they have shown no signs of improvement. We're gonna go through a few other teams here, and you'll see signs of improvement from them teams. 14, Washington Wizards. You got a Wizards team that traded for Jordan Poole, traded away Chris Paul, old baggage, got Chris Paul, traded away Chris Paul, old baggage, got Jordan Poole, a young star, budding star, meant to be. Got a few pieces, got Deni Avdija, got Kyle Kuzma. You drafted Bilal Coulibaly in the 7th pick in the draft this season, or last draft, right? Obviously. Wizards are 15-61. My grade for their season is a D. Now you might be wondering, why does the Pistons have a better grade than the Washington Wizards? My answer to you is that I expected the Pistons to be 15th. Everybody did. Because we know of their the way they've been running their organization these last few years, the way they've been trash. The Wizards, yeah, they've been trash for sure. They traded away Bradley Beal. But you expected them, when they got a Jordan Poole back, you expected not only Jordan Poole to elevate his game from being, he's a max contract player. Obviously, nobody has forgotten that. With Jordan Poole as well, nobody has forgotten that. Sometimes it's like, oh, we seem to forget. Nobody forgot that the Warriors paid Jordan Poole $120 million. But Jordan Poole did all his antics, everything, moved to the Washington Wizards, or got shipped over to the Washington Wizards. And now he realized how it is to have your own team, how hard it is to not play with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on a daily basis. How tough it is to create your own shot when you're playing with a Kyle Kuzma, Bilal Coulibaly, and Deni Avdija. When they don't have to key in and put 2 guys on Steph, put 2 guys on Klay. When they worry about you. We've seen them move to the bench. We've seen them have some very, very, very poor performances. It's not just solely about Jordan Poole, though. It's about the team as a whole. I just mentioned their 7th pick was Bilal Coulibaly. He has not shown any type of, it's a rookie season for sure. Hope great things for him next season. But he has not had a great season. Don't have the stats in front of me, but has not been as impactful as a top 10 pick should be. The Washington Wizards, just like Detroit Pistons, are one of the 3 teams in the NBA to not win a game, or to go a single month not winning a game. And that is why they get a solid D. 13, the Charlotte Hornets. This one I'm not going to spend too much time on. LaMelo got injured. Brandon Miller has had a great season. But at the end of it all, head coach Steve Clifford said it mid-season. Honestly, between the Hornets and the Wizards and Pistons, this Hornets team, you could cut them a little bit of slack. You could cut Steve Clifford a little bit of slack because they don't have, not every guy on that roster is an NBA talent guy that if this roster is built to win some games in the regular season, go to the playoffs, a lot of those guys would not play, let alone be on the roster. And it is what it is. It's the hand they've been dealt. 2 reasons. Their draft choices. Obviously, Brandon Miller wasn't bad, but we're looking deeper. Your 2nd round picks, who you're picking up on the free agency block, who you're picking up as an undrafted player. All of those things. Your G League team, this and that. They drafted Bouknight. And Bouknight stunk, man. He's not even in the. I don't even know where Bouknight is right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I would give them the D. It's a solid D. It's a solid D for the Hornets because no growth. They've been in this same 13th position for the last 10 years. Obviously, 10 years is a stretch because they had Kemba and a little bit of then. But 10 years is not even that big of a stretch when you start really deep and into it. Hornets haven't made the playoffs in years, bro. No growth. Got LaMelo Ball. He can't stay healthy. Got a promising rookie in Brandon Miller. That's why you get a D. Not a D- and not an F. Because it's very close to being a D- and F. All 3 of those teams, I was very generous with the grades. The Toronto Raptors at 12. I'll give the Toronto Raptors a C-. Honestly, I give them a C- because they were finally able to move on from Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby and finally able to start the clock on reset, build around Scottie. But it took way too long for the Toronto Raptors to do that. You look at what transpired and how it's, how the season has gone. Could have tanked for Wembanyama, man. Could have tanked last year. That's the thing that gets me. That is the thing that tickles my armpits. Could have got Wembanyama last year because it's now we're gonna tank this year. And even though I don't believe it, a lot of the higher ups NBA execs that have been in the league for years, veteran NBA execs, that's how the tweet was worded, think this is the worst draft they have ever seen. That's a strong claim. That is a very, very strong claim because there's been some bad drafts. And I don't think it's going to be the worst draft we've ever seen. I think it's going to be a great draft because whenever they say it's going to be the worst draft we've ever seen, that means there's going to be a team that finds the diamond in the rough. And it probably might be the Raptors. probably might be the Raptors. Masai Ujiri has done it before. Pascal Siakam at 27, OG at 23, something like that. I mean, he's done it before. Fred VanVleet undrafted, right? So trust in the organization itself, but the decision was a little too late. And you could see it with the way that Masai talks about it, that he waited too long for it because he trusted them too much. He thought they could do it, but they just could not. So the Raptors, they get a C-. They took too long to start the rebuild, but they finally did. Are finally building over Scotty Barnes. And then when they finally did, we're able to get great assets for an OG Anunoby. Got RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly and a few draft picks back in return for an OG Anunoby. I mean, that's a great return. Definitely could have gotten, maybe, never know. Maybe that's the best you could have ever gotten for OG. For Pascal, definitely probably could have gotten better last year. For sure. Especially because, to start, like, before the season starts, teams would want, and he would have 2 years on his contract, way more leverage for the Raptors, instead of him on his last season where he could just leave as a free agent, is what it is. But again, that's why they get a C-, not a C+, not a A, not a B, not a B+. Obviously, the B+, way too high for a Raptors team that didn't do well this year, but they finally started the tank. Finally able to start building around Scotty Barnes, seeing him grow. Alrighty. Last but not least, in the Eastern Conference, the Brooklyn Nets. These guys, for me, get the harshest of the harshest ones. They are going to get an F. They're going to get an F-, brother. An F-. And you want me to tell you why they're going to get an F-? Because the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, they shoot themselves in the foot more than any of those other teams that I've named. Man, they got Mikal Bridges. They got, all these players, Cam Thomas, all these players, bro. They got an asset in Dorian Finney-Smith. You got offered 3 first-round picks for him. They declined it. Got offered Mikal Bridges. For Mikal Bridges, you got offered Jalen Green, the number 2 pick of the 2021 draft, playing really well this year towards the end, and a few draft picks. It's not even about Jalen Green. Like I said on the last episode, the Nets not having a draft pick this year and they're 29-47 is disgusting. It is disgusting work by management letting that atrocity happen. I mean, how do you even let that go on? You traded away 3 superstars. How do you not have a draft pick for this year? The year that they are 29-47. Next year, they only got 1 in the first round. I believe in 2026, they got 1 as well. But they're both Phoenix picks. They don't even have their own picks. F-. You fire your head coach mid-season, whatever. Made it your 10th head coach fired in the last 13 years. Some crazy stat like that. F-. Not even making smart basketball decisions as an organization. F-. Respectfully, could have given them no grade because they don't deserve it. The Brooklyn Nets, what they're doing just makes no sense. Maybe we'll get some clarity, as the year goes on. I don't know. Maybe next season we get some clarity. I really don't know. But they're not drafting anyone this year. So this is the same team we're seeing next year. Unless it makes some, I don't know. I don't know who would want. They don't have Dorian Finney-Smith doesn't have 3 first-round pick value no more. What? Who's giving you 3 first-round picks, Dorian Finney-Smith? Who even offered that in the first place? Man, be serious. Let's get over to the Western Conference real quick. Alrighty. San Antonio Spurs. I'm gonna give the San Antonio Spurs a C minus. The Spurs were really bad last year. Obviously, still in this position, 15th in the Western Conference. Been bad a few years. I mean, ever since they traded Kawhi, ever since they've had, the kind of fall off from their dynasty days where, all their guys left. Tim Duncan retired. Manu retired. All their guys retired, right? And Kawhi left. And then that was the last, nail to the coffin for that old era of the San Antonio Spurs. But I've loved what they've been doing, not only in the draft. I mean, it was easy draft for them, the last one. Being able to just draft Wembanyama, that was easy. For sure easy. Anybody would do that. But also, when you add in that they're improving. Even though they have, a few guys on their roster that, once they get some NBA guys, those guys won't be on the roster no more. Maybe they improve. But, it's like a Jeremy Sohan. Like a lot of people feel two different ways about Jeremy Sohan. Me personally, though, I feel like he can improve as a basketball player, has good intangibles that you can't really teach. A lot of the hustle things that he does, a lot of those, just being able to be on the defensive end as well, and the defense that he plays. But obviously, he got it straight for no reason. They've all improved. They've all really improved. I love Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and then they get Wembanyama. Obviously, this year they're gonna get another top draft pick, right? Projected top 3. All of that is improvement, and then at the end of it all, you'll see the San Antonio Spurs get better. I mean, that is the thing you look at the Eastern Conference side, 4 of 5 of those teams were not getting better. I mean, I'm not saying they're not trying, but just year on year, they're just the same trash. Like the same trash. But the Spurs are working on it and they're getting better. I got the Portland Trailblazers. Honestly, for this season, you got to give them a C+. Not gonna lie. Oh, actually not a C+, a C flat. Let me explain why. A lot of you are probably like, hey, why? This guy's grading system is so dumb. But my grading system, if you really think about it, it's really smart, man. The Portland Trailblazers, bro, they traded away their franchise guy, Damian Lillard. Traded him away. We're able to get assets, though. We're able to get, you got the second round pick, obviously, from last year. C minus just because of what they were last year. You have to factor in all the improvement and everything as well. They're going to receive a C minus. But, their second round pick or their second pick of the draft, and he's not that great for sure. He hasn't had, the best season, Scoot Henderson. But there's a lot of growing pains with being in the NBA. Not everybody's Victor Wembanyama. You know what I'm saying? So you got that factor, and keep that factor in mind. They traded away their star player, able to, keep the the boat afloat, able to pick up some great additions throughout the midseason, like a Danilo Banton. Obviously, I keep up with him from Toronto. He's from the area I used to live in, man. So seeing him go over there. Obviously, this is one of those ones where I'm not adding their recent, success or failures to be a part of why I'm giving them a C. I'm just giving it for the whole season outlook of what's happened and how they've fared through the storm, and they're able to just improve a little bit more through this draft. I think that they'll, be better. Obviously, a C is a very, very generous grade for what they've done this season. DeAndre Ayton's been trash, it's not like they have a lot of bright spots on this team. Malcolm Brogdon, not that great. Jeremy Grant feels like he's, back in Detroit. Like it's crazy still. And he was traded from Detroit to go winning team with Damian Lillard. And it's crazy stuff. But I give a C because of they'll be like the from where they were, traded away their star player, and not dropping not dropping to where they're just like the absolute scum of the league. Obviously, they're tanking now, trying to get better draft position. That's why they've lost their last 10. right? So the Memphis Grizzlies, this is a team that deserves a C plus. C plus, and head coach over there for the Memphis Grizzlies, name just slips my mind right now. He deserves an A plus. You had a star player go down in Ja Morant. Desmond Bane went down, started the season, came back later, like towards the end of the season. Had Jaren Jackson Jr. and a bunch of, you had, Steven Adams also went down. He's been injured for like a while. I don't even know what happened to Steven Adams. They traded him though because of the whole injury thing. Had like 4 starters go out. And able to. They didn't right the ship. They didn't weather the storm by any means necessary. But they found pieces like Gigi Jackson. So, you know what I'm saying? They found Gigi Jackson, Santi Aldama. Obviously, they've known of Santi Aldama. But he's grown this year as well. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s grown this year a little bit more. Improvement is why they're going to get that C plus there. Played really well. And you just got to give... Got to give them credit. Got to give their organization credit. Went through a lot of things to be able to, the Ja Morant suspension, all of that happened this year, and then he got injured. Right? So, and now they're gonna get a top draft pick, and then be able to add it to Ja Morant. And in my eyes, that is a plus. Be able to build your team from the inside in. Don't have to get a free agent. None of that. To be able to battle some of these juggernauts that are in the West. Because if Ja Morant comes back, Desmond Bane comes back, they still would not be good enough. You know what I mean? So this is a great thing for the Grizzlies. A blessing in disguise this season has been, in my opinion. You get a top draft pick and you hit on it, bro, your team just got better. Your team can finally fight one of these guys in the West. Alrighty, the Utah Jazz. Gotta give them I'm gonna give the Utah Jazz a solid C. Obviously, they're still in that transition period from the tanking. They've been tanking, but tanking with a purpose. Tanking, like improving tanking. Last year, they were a little lower. This year, they're a little better. They traded, trade for picks. Obviously, Danny Ainge does this thing. We know Danny Ainge is one of the best, general managers in basketball ever, right? So what he did with the Celtics and everything, he's the one that got Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all of them. His work has been phenomenal still. But, with the Utah Jazz, you're looking at them from last year to this year, a little bit of improvement. Obviously, still a disappointment, not able to, sneak that play-in game. But still got Lauri Markkanen, still got a solid group. They just need to add a few more pieces on, and then they get good. Last but not least, the Houston Rockets. This is the one I hated the most. I'm not gonna lie, but they get a solid B plus. I'm being nice with the Houston Rockets, man, but they had a solid season. From where they were last year, able to make some solid free agency additions. You got a Fred VanVleet. You got yourself a Dylan Brooks. Had money to spend. Went out and got that. Alperen Sengun started to rise and surge. Such a great draft pick made by the Houston Rockets front office. Jalen Green had a sucky start to the season. Improved a lot more as the season went on. Obviously had one of the best finishes in the season. So, and them also being able to fight for a play-in spot. Obviously, they're kind of out of the mix for me right now. I don't think that they'll get into it, but they still have time. There's like 8 games left. They're 3 games back. So they need the Warriors to lose 3 or 4, and they need to win. So it's possible. It's not impossible, but it's improbable, right? So, but nonetheless, they've done better than I've expected them. They've taken a step forward. Coach Ime Udoka has a blueprint for this team. Second year following through, they'll take another step forward, and that is the goal. Even though I don't know if they will, but that's the goal. They've taken a step forward year 1, year 2, another one. That is what it's meant to be for a team that was in the bottom 5 last year. Alrighty, guys, as I'm seeing, the time is getting a little away from us here. I'm going to say, catch me back here tomorrow, right here on the Game Time Gazette, where I go through all the NBA awards and I go through the play-in trackers and everything. Gives me, one more day to see all the implications and everything. Not going to see a lot of movement from the standings and everything in one day, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how the day goes. Just wanted to, just gave the grades on the top 5 bottom teams in the league. That's a great little episode right there. And I'll just cap it off there. And it has been your host, Isaiah Aneni, on another day here. Again, I thank you. And I say, Jesus loves you. Love him too. Say hello to him today. Send him a little prayer. And love your neighbor. We're all in this world together. Let's make it a better place for each of us. Alrighty, guys. If you've reached to this point into the podcast, leave me a little review. Let me know what you think. Leave me a like. And I'll like back. Alrighty. Let's see. I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's been an awesome day. It's been Isaiah Aneni. This has been the Game Time Gazette. Peace. I would not be surprised if his draft stock rose, to the level of a top 10 pick. You hear the report of, this is the worst draft that some execs have ever seen, which excites me. It excites me to my core because we are finally gonna get some guys in the league again. 2021 or 2020, whatever, that Tyrese Halliburton draft, they said that was the most trash draft they ever seen, this and that, and we got Tyrese Halliburton, an all-star. The Giannis draft, they said that was the most trash draft. We got CJ McCollum, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I believe that who else was in that draft? Was Sabonis? No, it's not Sabonis. Victor Oladipo. We got some guys in that draft, bro. So it's like, I'm excited. That excites me. It excites me because the draft picks are seeing this too. The draft picks aren't like getting hyped up and their heads ballooned and they turn into Jaden Ivey or they turn into, Killian Hayes or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, they will genuinely be working harder to be able to prove that, hey, they deserve to be a number 10 pick. They deserve, even though, probably all the 10 picks ever work hard to do that, but they don't have the hype behind them to actually gas their head to actually think, oh yeah, I'm a worthy 10 pick. But with all that, it's been fun talking, all college ball with you guys. As I talk, we're, nearing the end of the NBA season, and I will be covering a lot more NBA, the draft, the playoffs, the awards, all of that and more, still here on the Game Time Gazette and still from our other sports leagues. We got a lot of fun stuff to cover this week. I try to fit this episode into the most compact way I could with all just college basketball. Obviously, I would still go NBA, this and that, but we'd be here for a while. And I know you guys got some other things to do, but I love that you spent this time with me here today. If you would, just leave a review on what you liked about the video, anything on it, your opinions on the games, maybe on the LSU Iowa game. How did you feel about LSU's work ethic and how they played in the game? And and without further ado, it's been your host, Isaiah Aneni. This has been the Game Time Gazette. Peace.